So hello student, today I will be teaching you solid state. As you know, matter is something which occupies space and has mass. So matter consists of 5 states: solid, liquid, gas, plasma, Bose-Einstein condensate. Out of that, solid, the rigid state of matter is solid. So solid basically are of two types: crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Crystalline solids have regular geometrical arrangement, whereas amorphous solids have irregular geometrical arrangement. Crystalline solids have fixed melting point, whereas amorphous solids have no fixed melting point. They have definite enthalpy of fusion, but they do not have definite enthalpy of fusion. Crystalline solid, you have to note down important point that it is anisotropic. It is anisotropic. That means it has different physical properties in different direction. That is called anisotropic. But amorphous solids are isotropic. Isotropic means it has same property in different direction. So and this is a true solid, and amorphous solids are regarded as pseudo solids. They are regarded as pseudo solids, also called supercooled liquids. So crystalline solids are further classified into 4 types: ionic solid, metallic solid, covalent solid, or molecular solid. Covalent solids are also known as network solid. So ionic solid, the constituent particles are ions. The constituent particles are ions. They are held together by Coulombic force of attraction. So if you want to know some examples of ionic solid like NaCl, KCl, cesium chloride, so these are MgO, these are example of ionic solids. So here the ions are held together by Coulombic force of attraction. They are hard and brittle, they are soluble in water, they have high melting point and boiling point, and they conduct electricity in aqueous or molten state. They are insulator in solid state. One of the questions that is being asked in most of the exam is they do not have directional property, because in ionic there is only the attraction between the positive and negative ions. There is no overlapping of orbital, which we find in the case of covalent. So no directional property is shown by ionic solid, so they do not show space isomerism. Now coming to metallic solid, most of the properties of metals can be understood from the word only: malleable, ductile, electropositive, electrical conductor, tensile strength, thermal conductor, alloy formation, luster, sonorous. So these are the properties of metals. So metallic solids, they have actually metals lose electron to form kernel and n electron. So here n is generally 1, 2, 3. So the attractive force between the positively charged kernel and electron is called metallic bonding. More is the number of valence electron, more is the strength of the metallic bonding. So metals are hard, they have high tensile strength, they are malleable and ductile, they can be converted into sheets and wires. They are electropositive, they have the ability to lose electron, they are good conductor of electricity, and they have high tensile strength due to strong metallic bonding. They are thermal conductors, so heat can be conducted through metals. They form alloy. Alloys are a homogeneous mixture of 2 or more metals, sometimes a metal and non-metals. So you have to know some alloys like brass, bronze, German silver. These are the important alloys. There are lots of alloy like Babbitt metal, pewter, solder, then duralumin, magnesium, and one of the most important that is being asked is base metal. It is formed by the lanthanide, 95% lanthanide and 5% iron, and some simple impurities are also there. Okay, so sonorous, luster and sonorous metals have shining surface. They are used as bells. So they produce sound also when hit. So these are the metallic bonding. This is metallic bonding. So the positively charged kernel and electron are held by metallic bonding. Some of the examples of metallic solids are copper, silver, iron, magnesium. One of the important questions that has been asked from copper is what is the coordination number of copper? So its structure is HCP. So you must remember, not HCP, CCP. Copper and silver, they form CCP lattice, and magnesium and zinc, they form SCP. All have coordination number of 12. So keep it in mind, the coordination number. This has been asked in competitive exam, so do prepare it. Okay, now coming to covalent or network solid, non-metals form covalent bond. As we know, covalent bonds are formed by mutual sharing of electron between participating atoms. So these covalent molecules, they are giant 3-dimensional molecules. So examples of covalent solids are diamond, graphite, aluminum carbide, aluminum nitride. So some of the examples are diamond, graphite, silicon carbide, graphite, silicon carbide also called carborundum, silica SiO2, all, and silicon as well as aluminum nitrate. So these solids are covalent, they have giant three-dimensional structure. Next is molecular solids. So these molecular solids are further classified into three types: polar molecular solid, non-polar molecular solid, and hydrogen bonded molecular solid. HCl and SO2 are polar molecular solid. Non-polar molecular solid: helium, argon, hydrogen solid, iodine solid, carbon tetrachloride, carbon dioxide. These are all examples of non-polar molecular solid. Coming to hydrogen bonded molecular solid, ice is an example of hydrogen bonded molecular solid. So these are the types of solids. So solids are basically of two types: crystalline solids and amorphous solid. Crystalline solids are anisotropic, very important. They have different physical properties in different direction. Amorphous solids are isotropic. That means they have same property, physical property in different direction. The physical property here we consider is refractive index, thermal conductivity, and electrical conductivity. And they are called pseudo solids or supercooled liquid. It resembles that the liquid is cooled to such a temperature that it appears like solid. Some of the examples of amorphous solids are polythene, Teflon, polyurethane, cellophane, rubber, glass, etc. Supercooled liquid. Now coming to crystal lattice. Crystal lattice is the three-dimensional arrangement of particles in space. So unit cell, the smallest part of crystal lattice, which when repeated in all the directions generates the entire crystal. Unit cell are characterized by A, B, C, alpha, beta, gamma. A, B, C and alpha, beta, gamma. A, B, C are called edge lengths and alpha, beta, gamma are called edge angles. So these are the unit cell parameter. Unit cell is basically of two types: primitive unit cell and centered unit cell. Primitive unit cell have atoms only at corner, like one of the example is simple cubic. Atoms only present at corner. Centered unit cells are those unit cells which have atoms at corners as well as some other places. What are those some places? It can be the body, only one body is possible. FCC has atoms at corner as well as faces. So you have to keep in mind that there are 12 edges, 8 corners, 6 faces and 1 body. So you have to keep in mind this. There are 12 edges, 8 corners, 6 faces and 1 body. So an atom kept at body has its contribution is 1. An atom kept at faces, the contribution is half. An atom kept at corner, the contribution is 1 by 8. An atom kept at edges, the contribution is 1 by 4. So this you have to keep in mind for solving the question based on formula or compound. Okay. Now coming to centered unit cell. So as I told you, centered unit cells are those unit cells which have atoms at corner as well as some other places. So what are those types? 3 types: BCC, FCC and ECC. BCC is called body centered cubic unit cell. FCC is called face centered unit cubic cell. It is also called CCP, cubic closed packed structure. ECC means end centered cubic unit cell. So I am giving you a trick for you to remember what is the number of atoms present in simple cubic, body center, face centered and edge centered. So just remember, सब iron है 1242 rupees का, सब iron है. So simple cubic has 1 atom per unit cell, body center has 2 atom per unit cell, face center has 4 atom per unit cell, end center have 2 atom unit cell. If you want to know how I am solving this, simple. Suppose this is a simple cubic unit cell and the particles are only at corners. The contribution is 1 by 8. So number of atom you can simply find out by n corner by 8 plus n faces by 2 plus n body by 1 plus n edges by 4. So if you keep this formula in your mind, you can simply calculate the number of atoms present in a unit cell. So in the simple cubic unit cell, atoms are present only at corner. So there are 8 corners. So 8 into 1 by 8, that will give to 1. So there are 1 atom. There is 1 atom in simple cubic unit cell. If you consider the body center, so 1 atom at the body will make it 2. 1 surrounding the corners and 1 at the body. So it will have 2. Similarly, if you see faces, there are 6 faces. 6 faces contribute 3 atoms and plus corner is 1, so 4 atoms. So just remember the trick, sub iron hai 1242 rupees ka. So this will help you solve question because questions are being asked from this topic also. Now, coming how you will find out the density of a unit cell. So, density you will find by the formula Z into M by AQ into Na. AQ into Na. So, what is Z here? Z is unit cell content. It is 1 for simple cubic, 2 for BCC, 4 for FCC, and if you want to solve for NaCl, take it 4, because in one NaCl unit there are 4 formula units. Okay, and for cesium chloride you consider Z as equal to 1, and M is the molar mass. It can be atom or it can be molecule. So molar mass divided by Avogadro number will give the mass of a single unit, either molecules or atoms. So this formula will help you find out the density. Make sure that this unit is in centimeter to get the density in gram per centimeter cube. So generally the A unit is given in picometer. So you must be aware that 1 picometer is nothing but 10 to the power minus 10 centimeter. Sometimes they may give you in nanometer. So 1 nanometer is 10 to the power minus 7 centimeter. So if you keep this knowledge intact, you will be able to solve the question based on density. Now coming to the packing efficiency. Packing efficiency is the space occupied by the constituent atom. So more is the close packing, more will be the packing efficiency. Simple cubic is 52.4% packing efficiency. BCC has 68% packing efficiency. FCC, also called CCP, has 74. SCP has 74. Keep in mind that the unoccupied space is 47.6% here 32%, and here 26%. So that you have to keep 47.6%. This is 32%. This is 26%. 26% question was asked in IIT. So now coming to substances on the basis of electrical property. So on the basis of electrical property, substances are broadly of 3 types. Conductors through which electricity can pass easily, insulator through which electricity cannot pass at room temperature, and semiconductor. Semiconductors at low temperature behaves as insulator and becomes conductor at higher temperature. So just check the conductivity of these electrical properties based on conductors, insulators and conductors. If you want to know the example, metals are very good conductor. If you want to know the insulator, the dry wood you can take. So dry wood, okay, some rubber etc. are insulator only. Semiconductor. So semiconductors are those substances which have conductivity in between conductors and insulator. There are broadly 2 types of semiconductor. One is called the intrinsic semiconductor. One is called the intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor are also called pure semiconductor. Their conductivity is so low that there is no practical use for those. So examples are silicon and germanium. Examples are silicon and germanium. So what we need to improve the conductivity of an intrinsic semiconductor? We need to add some impurity. The process of adding impurity to a pure semiconductor to convert it into extrinsic type, that is N type and P type, is called doping. So doping is the process of undesirable adding of impurities. The impurity that we generally add is from group 13 and group 15. So you have to remember that the impurity that we add is from group 13 or group 15. If we add group 13, suppose boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium, we can remember this Bal Gangadhar Indian Tilak. We can remember this by Bal Gangadhar Indian Tilak. Boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, thallium. If we mix this with silicon and germanium, we will get a P-type semiconductor where the majority charge carriers are holes. But if we mix electron rich impurity like group 15, Nana, Papa, Asis, Sab, Bimar, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth, then the semiconductor that will be formed is called N type, where the majority charge carrier will be electrons and the minority charge carrier will be holes. So this is about the extrinsic semiconductor. So extrinsic semiconductors are also called doped semiconductor or impure semiconductor, whereas the intrinsic semiconductor which have very low conductivity are called pure semiconductor. So extrinsic semiconductors are formed. Suppose if we mix group 15, then it is called P type. If we mix group 13, then it is called, if we mix group 15, then it is called N type, because here the majority charge carriers are electron. If we mix group 13, electron deficient impurity, then the extrinsic type of semiconductor is P type, where the majority charge carriers are holes. So this was all about the solid state concept. Let's teach you one more concept, that is called the magnetic property. So let's discuss crystal defects. So crystal defects are actually the defects in the arrangement of crystals or some particles are missing, sometimes some new particles enter, so these are called crystal defect. Any deviation from the regular arrangement is called crystal defects. So if the crystal do not have any defect, then we call it ideal crystal, which are very rare to find. So the most of the crystal that we encounter in our daily lives are real crystals. So crystal defects are of broadly two types. One is called the point defect, another is called the line defect. Point defects are such a defects in which particles are missing from a lattice point or some site. Okay, line defects are those defects in which particles are missing from his rows. Okay, so we have to only study point defect. So point defect broadly classified into three types: stoichiometric defect, non-stoichiometric defect, and impurity defect. So stoichiometric defects are broadly classified into two types: vacancy defects and interstitial defect. Vacancy defect is caused to non-ionic solids where particles are missing. Particles are missing. That means some particles are missing, and due to this, the density of the substance is affected. Due to this, the density of the substance is affected, and how it is affected? Quite simple, density will be decreased, because when particles are missing, mass will be decreased, resulting into decrease in density. Now coming to interstitial defects, what happens? The crystal has a interstitial site where some small atoms can come and enter. So that will increase the density of the crystal. So when particles come and enter the interstices, it is called interstitial defect. Due to this, density of the crystal increases. Now we want to see what are the defects shown by ionic solids. So ionic solids basically show two types of defect. One is called the Frankel defect, another is called the Schottky defect. So Frankel defect is also called dislocation defect. So what happens in Frankel defect? So suppose a ionic solid is there. So what happens? From the lattice side, the cations move to the interstices. From the lattice side, the cation moves. So at the lattice, there is a vacancy that is created. So at a lattice, so if you want to see Frankel defect, what happens? So particles is here, so it goes to the interstices. So what happens here? Here will be a vacancy defect that will be created, and here it enters the interstitial. So interstitial defect will be created. Here a vacancy defect will be created. Suppose I have a pen here. This is the lattice point. If I remove this and put it in a interstitial space, there is no loss of this pen. Panness is still there. So that means there is no change in the density of the crystal. So during Frankel defect, the density of the substance remains same. And this defect is particularly shown by such ionic solids where there is large difference between the size of cation and anion. So this defect is common. Frankel defect is common in ZnS, AgCl, AgBr, AgI, because the small size of Zn2 plus and Ag plus. So you have to keep in mind that AgBr is special. AgBr is special because it shows both Frankel and Schottky defects. That you have to keep in mind. So Frankel defect is also called dislocation defect. The particle leaves the lattice site and enters the interstitial. So at the original site, it causes vacancy defect. At the new site, it causes interstitial defect. Since there is no loss of the particle, there is no change in density, so density remains same. It is shown by such ionic solid where there is a large difference in the size of cations and anions. So that is called Frankel or distal. So most of the exam you will find that some questions are related from crystal defect. So do prepare student Frankel defect and Schottky defect, which is important for your upcoming exam, and you are going through so many exams now. Okay, so Schottky defect. Schottky defect is actually a vacancy defect. Schottky defect is actually a vacancy defect in which equal number of cations and anions are missing. Equal number of cations and anions are missing. So what happens in the crystal when equal numbers of cations and anions are missing? That decreases the mass of the crystal. That means the density of the crystal decreases. That decreases the density of the crystal. So it is shown by such ionic compound where the size of the cation and anion are almost identical. Like for Schottky defect, I am writing here Schottky defect. It is shown by NaCl, KCl, cesium chloride, and you have to keep in mind that AgBr, which also show Frankel defect, also show Schottky defect. So this you have to keep in mind. Now coming to impurity defect. So impurity defect is such a defect in which, suppose if one example if you want to know, NaCl, when it is mixed, molten acid mixed with SrCl2, what happens? Some of the Na plus ions are missing. Suppose in the crystal if we find that if you have a structure like this, Na plus Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus, Cl minus, Na missing from here, Cl minus, Na plus, Na missing from here, Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus. Suppose you are seeing a three-dimensional crystal in a two-dimensional paper here. So here Na plus is missing, here Na plus means the crystal have 2 plus charge less here. Okay, so that means negative charge is more. To counteract that, one Sr2 plus ion comes here, Sr2 plus ion comes, and this is called the cation vacancy. This is called the cation vacancy. So the number of cation vacancy is equal to number of Sr2 plus ion. So based on that, question can be asked. Another example for this is, so first example was NaCl plus SrCl2. Second example, you can prepare that AgCl mixed with cadmium chloride. So this type of defects are called impurity defects. There are another type of defect that is called non-stoichiometric defect. There are some compounds which are not found in a stoichiometric proportion. Stoichiometric means 1:1 proportion. So that sort of compounds are called non-stoichiometric compounds. So basically two types of non-stoichiometric defects are there. One is called the metal excess defect, another is called the metal deficiency defects. Okay. So non-stoichiometric defect, non-stoichiometric defects. So these are broadly classified into two types: metal excess defect and metal deficiency defect. Metal deficiency defect. So let's discuss for metal deficiency defect. Suppose if you take a oxide of iron, generally it is found in non-stoichiometric ratio like Fe 0.930, Fe 0.950, Fe 0.960. So what does this mean? This means that some of the Fe2 plus ions are missing. Some of the Fe2 plus ions are missing, which is compensated by Fe3 plus ion. Which is compensated by Fe3. Such defects are called metal deficiency defects. Now coming to metal excess defect, these are of two types: metal excess defect due to anionic vacancies. So what happens when a crystal of sodium chloride, lithium chloride or potassium chloride is heated in the vapors of sodium, lithium and potassium respectively? What happens? There is an anionic vacancy created which is occupied by unpaired electron, that is called F center, from the word Farbengenter, meaning color center. So that sort of things are called. So that give rise to yellow color in NaCl. What type of color is present in NaCl? Yellow color. And that give rise to pink color in lithium chloride. And that give rise to violet color in KCl. So you have to keep this in mind. So when NaCl is heated in the sodium vapor, what happens? Some of the chloride ion migrates to the outside of the crystal. That position is occupied by unpaired electron. That is called F center. So keep in mind F center. What are F center? Anionic vacancy occupied by unpaired electron, which is responsible for color in alkali halides. So NaCl yellow color, lithium chloride pink color, and KCl violet or lilac. That you have to keep in mind. Next type of metal excess defect is called metal extra cations in the interstitial site surrounded by electron. So that example is zinc oxide. So zinc oxide, most of the compound of zinc are white. So when zinc is heated, then it forms Zn2 plus O2 plus 2 electron. So what happens now? The crystal has the formula 1 plus XO. So there is an excess of zinc 2 plus ion, so which moves to the interstitial site surrounded by electron. That gave rise to metal excess defect due to extra cations at the interstitial site surrounded by unpaired electrons. So this was the topic of crystal defect. Now one topic is left, that is called the magnetic properties. So let's begin that magnetic properties. So coming to magnetic properties. So the origin of magnetism is electron. As we know, electron is a charged particle with a negative charge. So electron is a tiny magnet. It's a very small magnet. So one unpaired electron give rise to a magnetic moment of 1.73 Bohr magneton. Bohr magneton is the unit of magnetic moment. So actually the electron has two types of spin. One is called the orbital spin, another is called the one is called the orbital motion, another is called the spin motion. So spin motion can be clockwise or anti-clockwise. If it is clockwise, then it is half, that you have read in atomic structure, spin quantum number, and minus half. So orbital motion. So electron has two types of motion, orbital motion and spin motion. Due to spin motion, a magnetic moment is generated, that is given by spin only formula, which is given by root under n plus 2 bm. This is a very important formula for your exam, where n is the number of unpaired electron. As the number of unpaired electron increases, the magnetic moment also increases. So n is the number of unpaired electron. And you have to keep in mind one thing. If the number of unpaired electron is 1, your magnetic moment will be in the range of 1 only, that means 1.73. If it is 2, then 2.83 to 2.87. If it is 3, then it is also 3.93. If it is 4, then 4.87. If it is 5, then 5.92. So if you know how to calculate number of unpaired electron, it will be very easy for you to find out the magnetic moment based on spin only formula. Now this electron is a charged particle which behaves like a small loop of current. As you know from the principle of electromagnetism or the theory of electromagnetism, where there is current, there is magnetism, where there is magnetism, there is current. So a small loop of current, this electron is behaving, which has a magnetic moment, So on the basis of magnetic properties, substances are classified into 5 types: diamagnetism, ferromagnetism, paramagnetism, ferromagnetism, antiferromagnetism, and ferrimagnetism. So diamagnetism is the universal property of matter. Such substances are repelled in the magnetic field. Their weight decreases in the magnetic field. Water, NaCl, benzene. So these are the substances which are diamagnetic. Now coming to paramagnetism, these substances are attracted in the magnetic field. They have one or more number of unpaired electrons. According to valence bond theory, O2 is diamagnetic, that is the demerit of VBT. But according to molecular orbital theory, O2 is paramagnetic, and you must know that O2 is indeed paramagnetic. Cu2 plus, Fe3 plus, Cr3 plus, these are the ions which have unpaired electrons, so they behave as paramagnetic substance. So paramagnetic substances are those substances which have magnetic property, which are attracted in the magnetic field due to presence of one or more unpaired electron. They have magnetic moment not equal to 0. Now coming to ferromagnetic substance, these are permanent magnets. So they are magnetized permanently, they are very strong. You can remember the trick: Fe, Ni, iron, cobalt, nickel, gadolinium, CrO2. So these are the substances which are ferromagnetic. This question generally asked from this topic. Now antiferromagnetic, if you see the domain structure for ferromagnetic, so all will be in one direction. For ferromagnetic. But if you see antiferromagnetic, they are equal and unequal. So if suppose 4 I am showing, then 1 up, 1 down, so this will be cancelled by this, 1 up, 1 down. So like this is for antiferromagnetic. MnO is an antiferromagnetic substance. Now coming to ferrimagnetic substance, they do have a magnetic moment. That magnetic moment is less than that of ferromagnetic material. So ferromagnetic material is used for making permanent magnet. So if you see the domain structure for ferrimagnetism, if 2 goes up, then 1 will come down. So this way it is. If 2 goes up, then 1 goes down. So examples of ferrimagnetic substances are ferrite, Fe3O4, Mg, Fe2O4, Zn, Fe2O4. So this was the topic. One more question I want to discuss with you, that is ReO3 behaves like copper in appearance as well as in conductivity. If you want to know group 12, 16 compounds, then group 12 you have to know zinc, cadmium, mercury. Group 16 oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, polonium. So zinc sulfide, cadmium selenide, mercuric, telluride. So these are the compounds that are called group 12, group 16 compounds. So if you want to see group 13, 15 compounds, so group 13 is Bal, Gangadhar, Indian, Tilak, and group 15 is Nana, Papa, Asis, Sab, Bimar. So if you want to know what are the group 13, 15 compounds, so you can easily figure out aluminum phosphide, gallium arsenide. Gallium arsenide has created a revolution in the semiconductor industry. Indium stibnite. Okay, so these are the compounds of group 13, 15. So student, some diodes are there, transistors are there, so that you have to keep. And this was the chapter of solid state which will prove to be very useful for your upcoming exam. So do prepare it. Go through the NCERT question, what are the previous year papers, and just go through my lecture. It will be very beneficial to you. Thank you student, and all the best for your ongoing exam as well as the upcoming exam. Thank you.